Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you all are doing great today. Let's take a look at some relationship dramas today. In the first story, OP is being pressured to work overtime to help a pregnant coworker because she is child-free. Let's listen to the story. AITA for not helping my pregnant coworker? I, female 27, work in a team of 5. One of the members, let's call her Ava, is pregnant. Our company allows only 6 months paid maternity leave. Ava has been having a rough pregnancy and has been on ordered bed rest by her doctor. She is only in her 2nd trimester. But she has already been calling in sick a lot and has exhausted her paid sick leave. Her and her husband are renting and are not doing great financially. They need her income for the next 5 months, till baby is due, and she can officially go on paid maternity leave. Our boss asked us to figure it out. We cannot actually do our work remotely. To enable her to work remotely, we will have to dedicate hours of our work time, working on behalf of her physically, and gathering info she requires. It will be very difficult to do, and to complete our own work, we will have to work additional hours. Our company doesn't pay overtime. All others in my team already have family and kids. I am the only one without kids, or as others said, responsibilities. They asked me to do the additional work to help Ava out. I said no. I sympathize with Ava. But she made a decision to have a baby, and I cannot work extra hours every day to help her. They said I was being an AH for not helping. I told them if they cared so much, let us all help together. Then everyone will have fewer extra hours to work. They complained they cannot since they have family to get back to and responsibilities. I said I have my own life too. Either we all help together, taking turns, or we don't help. I am not going to sacrifice all my days for her. None of them want to help, and I let our boss know. He hired a temporary replacement for Ava. Ava and the rest of my colleagues are calling me an AH now. AITA? Not the AHOP. Why is it your responsibility to work for your pregnant coworker for free? I can't believe your other coworkers would even say such a thing. Just because you don't have kids, doesn't mean that you should have to work for her. I'm sorry she is having a difficult time, but that is not your problem. As you stated, everyone helps, or no one helps. Let's see what the community has to say. NTA, and not your problem. It is the boss's problem to make sure the work is done, and the company's problem to make sure they hire enough staffing to complete all the work. Surprise, surprise. When the employees refused to take a bunch of extra work for no pay, they were forced to hire another staff member, which is what they should have done all along. I kind of feel like work is TA for putting you in this position. This is the real answer. It's not OP's problem to cover for her company's crappy leave policies. And OP's manager is the biggest AH for putting this to the coworkers, rather than being a manager and doing manager things to sort it out. Coworkers really suck too. Doesn't matter if OP doesn't have kids, it's not fair to expect her to take on the extra burden. Next story. AITA for saying my brother-in-law should move the date of his wedding or husband and I can't go? A friend of mine from college is getting married at a destination I had dreamed of going to for a long time, but it was totally out of our budget. Her uncle owns a resort and has offered amazing discounts on rooms to her guests. We've had this planned for months, RSVP'd, booked a room, arranged childcare, everything. Now, his brother wants to get married the weekend of the wedding. They're not really doing anything, just a quick ceremony and party in my in-laws' backyard. It will be more like a family barbecue than any kind of actual wedding. My husband wants to cancel everything so we can be in town. I don't want to cancel for the reasons outlined above. We've been in an argument about it. I suggested that his brother can just move it to the weekend before or after. They don't have out-of-town guests, a wedding venue, or vendors booked, or anything that would stop them from being able to move it, so my husband and I can attend. It's just pure stubbornness. My husband isn't backing me up on this at all, and has definitely been talking crap to his family about me, which I hate. He thinks I'm being entitled. If his brother was having a real wedding that had been planned for months and involved a ton of time/money spent, I'd feel differently. But, as I said, it costs them nothing to just change the weekend. AITA? OP, you are not the AH for wanting to go to the destination wedding. You have paid for everything and made all of the arrangements well in advance. However, you are a slight AH for saying that the brother's wedding is not a real wedding. Let's see what the community thinks. NTA. How on earth are you being entitled? You are SVP. D yes to your friend's wedding months before your brother-in-law announced his wedding, and your husband went right along with it. You made financial arrangements and have booked childcare arrangements. And you're supposed to renege on that because your brother-in-law decided on a whim to get married? And he expects you to cancel all of that to accommodate him? He's the one being grossly entitled. But your husband is the biggest AH in this situation. He's not only failing to support you to his family, he's actively crap-talking you to them. To me, that's unforgivable behavior. You should go to your friend's wedding and leave your husband at home. He's going to deliberately make sure you don't enjoy yourself during what should be a great time. Then, he can enjoy his entitled brother's barbecue. I think the entitlement the husband refers to is about this, and not about moving the date. Imagine going with an argument with your wife about attending either your brother's wedding, or your wife's college friend's wedding and her saying, but it's not an actual wedding. I don't think OP is thinking it's less than, but it's easier to change the date since it is low-key, without all the usual fanfare of venues etc. And no one is flying from out of town. Her suggestion is more than valid to possibly change the date. Her husband is the AH in my opinion, because it sounds like this is more of a last-minute plan, and he could easily ask his brother to possibly change the date, but refuses and then talks crap about her to his family. Shame on him. Next story. AITA for not letting my husband stay in an Airbnb with his female employees? My 39 female husband, 41 male, has a successful online business. He attends a marketing convention every year, which is 15 minutes from our house, and this year he's flying in his 7 remote staff members to attend the conference with him. A few months ago, he asked me what I thought if he rented an Airbnb for him and his staff to stay in, so I said, I think that's fine. The only reason I'd be uncomfortable with it is if there were women staying in the house as well. Well, later that evening, we brought the topic up again, and he said yes, some of them are women, so I said no. The conversation was dropped, but then a few months later, he says he's spending the night there and that he told me about it. I told him even if he did, that I certainly didn't remember, because I would have told him again that I wasn't comfortable with it. The main reason I'm uncomfortable is because I don't think it's a good idea legally for him to stay at an Airbnb with female employees. There are 2 unmarried females in their mid-20s on his staff. The reward doesn't outweigh the risk of any perceived sexual harassment issues, in my mind. The Airbnb is only 20 minutes away from our own house. He's able to stay at the house, hanging out with them as long as he wants. I just ask that he come home to sleep. So the team arrives, everything is going fine, his team are going to the conference together, hanging out until all hours in the evening, and then coming home to sleep. Husband dropped a lot of money for a VIP tour at a major amusement park for the last day, and he wanted me to come too. 2 nights before that scheduled outing, I get a Facebook message from one of his employees, female, asking if I could spend the night at the Airbnb the night before the outing. In the morning, husband admits that he told his employees that I wasn't comfortable with him spending the night, and how about she, the female, should message me to try and convince me. I about flew off the handle. He totally threw me under the bus, and he didn't even tell them it was because of legal reasons. Also, I saw this as a complete breach in privacy and trust between a husband and a wife. I write a very nice reply explaining the reason, and she responds, "Oh, I hadn't thought of it that way, makes sense." Apparently, the next morning, she reads my message aloud in the car with everyone in it, including my husband. Which, I'm somewhat glad for, since now everyone knows the reason, but also, how awkward for everyone. Today is the day of the VIP event. I rearranged my entire schedule beforehand to be able to go to this, and now I just feel the entire thing is so awkward. Husband is very apologetic about the whole thing, and really wants me to go to the VIP event today. I know he wants me to go to be with me, but another part of me knows it's because if I don't show up today, then that will add more fuel to the gossip fire among his employees. I just don't want to be the butt of a joke. AITA in any of this situation? Am I overreacting? Not the a-hole OP, basically everything you said is correct. It is his responsibility to make sure he keeps things professional with his employees. It's okay to hang out and show them a good time, but still keep it professional. Also, as you mentioned, there is no reason for him to spend the night, if he only lives 20 minutes from the Airbnb. Let's see what the community has to say. NTA. There's no reason for everyone to sleep in the same accommodation. They're coworkers, not friends. Your husband should at least have rented 2 apartments, one for the men, one for the women. You're right about your concerns about sexual harassment, but also about your jealousy as a wife. Even if you don't mention it, it would be understandable. Your husband screwed up big time. He should never have talked to his employees about his relationship, it's very inappropriate. And on top of that, he asked an employee to convince you? Unacceptable. He's somehow humiliated you and is sharing your private life with strangers. Your husband didn't take your point of view into account at all, and instead of talking to you about it, he asked outsiders to meddle in your relationship's issues. It's a very bad move. It's Management 101, you can be friendly, but you keep a degree of separation. Dinner, a couple drinks at dinner, maybe an hour tops at the Airbnb, but that's where it ends. No matter how harmless your intentions, you never know how your action will be perceived by others. Your hubby is in a position of authority, and as much as it sucks, he can't be friends with his employees. I'd advise him to take a leadership/HR course. I can't even imagine someone who works for my husband messaging me about my private business, or any disagreement I have with him. Stay in your lane, please. That's doing too much for me. Well, what did you guys think of today's stories? What would you do in OP shoes? Please let me know in the comments below, and thanks for spending time with me today. Please, don't forget to like and subscribe.